Hi, Papa. We've been talking about the Taconic mountain building event, also called the Taconic Orogeny, also called the Taconian Orogeny. It's all the same thing. By the way, hello. I hope you're having a great morning like I am. It's chilly here this morning, and the wood stove's keeping us warm. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the products of the Taconic Orogeny. The Taconic Orogeny occurred during the Ordovician time period, which was 500 million years ago to about 450 million years ago. But it also its aftermath extended into the next time period, which is called Silurian period, and that lasted from 450 million years ago to about 400 million years ago. And these times that I'm telling are, approximate ballpark times, but they're okay. So one of the most important products of the Taconic Orogeny is, you guessed it, that shiny yellow metal called gold, the Dahlonega gold, which, as you recall, was flushed into the ocean sediments, which were between the proto-North American mainland and the rifted hunk, which became an island arc, all along Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and maybe Alabama too. Oh, also up into Virginia as well. So Dahlonega gold is one of the important products of the Taconic mountain building event. Another product of the Taconic mountain building event is the you remember the Knox limestone, which was the Cambrian limestone, the Cambrian explosion limestone, the rift to drift limestone that accumulated when after Rodinia, right after Rodinia rifted apart. Well, as part of the Taconic mountain building event, all that limestone, that Knox limestone, was raised up above sea level, and it became karsted. What is karsted? Karsted means that limestone that's raised up above sea level gets the limestone, which is a base, gets dissolved by water, rainwater, which is a weak acid, and so you get this intricate system of caves developing. And then that's karst topography, the cave type topography. And a lot of these caves, their roofs would collapse and cave in, and you get all this material deposited into the former cave, and that material is called breccia or breccia. I call it breccia, but I think the right word is breccia, something like that. Anyway, when the Taconic mountain building event occurred, very likely the same volcanic activity that created the Dahlonega gold into those sediments under the ocean also pumped zinc and lead into this karsted Knox limestone. And so around Knoxville, Tennessee, for a long time, it was a big center for the mining and production of zinc and lead, but mainly zinc. And I think the mineral that zinc is found in is called sphaerolite. Sphaerolite. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that well. So you've got the zinc and the lead around the Knoxville area, and other areas too up and down the East Coast probably had zinc and lead. And then there was the Chickamauga Limestone and all the other associated limestones that were laid down in this foreland basin that happens, and we'll talk more about this in the next video. When the volcanic island chain was created, it got heavy and it pushed down on the edge of the continent, and that created habitat for sea creatures, and it made limestone. And the limestone created during the Taconic here in Georgia is called the Chickamauga limestone. And that limestone, like all limestone, is very, very fertile, creates very, very fertile soils, and that contributed perhaps more than even the Dahlonega gold to the prosperity of the regions that received it. And it was deposited under other names all up and down the east coast of the United States in this great Appalachian foreland basin, and I'll tell you a lot more about that in the next video. Also, the limestone is used for in the process of making Portland cement, which a lot of our buildings are made out of in the cities. Also, the limestone was very important, a very important component of the iron foundry business. That's the process of taking iron ore and creating pig iron or black iron from it, which was a huge industry, though kind of primitive back in the late 1700s and the 1800s. So that's the limestone, and that was all up and down the East Coast too. Another really important product of the Taconic, which occurred during the Silurian period, was the Red Mountain Formation, and the Red Mountain Formation was deposited in Georgia and in Alabama, and all up and down the East Coast under other names. Besides, I think Rose Hill Formation is one of the names in Tennessee. Anyway, this Red Mountain Formation is full of iron, especially the mud component of it, which was deposited into this the remnants of this foreland basin, and it became a huge source of iron for the iron foundry business, and that's where Birmingham, Alabama got its beginning, because Iron Mountain is located right there, and it's the iron-rich shales that were deposited in that area, and that's why Birmingham is called Birmingham, Alabama, because Birmingham in England was also a big iron foundry site, probably the same formation of iron. So you had the iron there and the limestone that was used in the production of iron, and not only that, later after Taconic, coal was deposited, and I'll tell you more about that. And that coal was used in the iron furnaces to provide the heat that melted the iron ore. Okay, now another product of the Taconian or the Taconic orogeny was when it rains, it pours. What am I talking about? You know, the little girl with the umbrella and she's walking in the rain? Yeah. Salt. Salt. How could salt be a product of the Taconic orogeny? Well, after the orogeny, during the Silurian time, you had it got very dry. The North America was in the dry trade wind belt, and they have hot, dry periods, and then they have a wet season. Well, during this time, there was block faulting, just like when Rodinia rifted, but it was not enough to rift the continent apart. It was minor block faulting, and what it did was it caused new basins to develop, and these were shallow basins, and seawater flooded into these shallow basins, and it was really, really hot, and it evaporated the water, and guess what formed? Was left was salt, layers of salt. And one of the best basins for this salt production was up in the Great Lakes region. And so just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet, almost maybe even thousands of feet of this salt accumulated up in the Great Lakes area, because they had basins there. Actually, the Great Lakes, and some of the Great Lakes were actually these basins, and they were filled up with these tremendous layers of salt. Well, the salt would have been washed away. Of course, the layers built up during Silurian, and these layers would be absolutely washed away, except for after that, a layer of dolomite, which is limestone that's had magnesium pumped into it. It's a little harder than limestone. A layer of dolomite covered all this salt over and protected it. This layer of dolomite is called the Lockport dolomite. And incidentally, it also forms the layer of rock over which Niagara Falls cascades. So it created and helped create the Niagara Falls. So salt was another major product. What else we got here? Whenever you have a mountain building event, one of the first sediments that are deposited in this foreland basin, the deep part of the foreland basin, and we'll talk about that next video, is black mud. And this black mud, first under pressure of subsequent mountain building events, turns into shale And then with further metamorphism, it turns into slate. And you know what slate is used for? They use it for roofs. They use it for walkways. They use it for walls. And so we're, especially up in Pennsylvania, in that area, the mining of this slate for this purpose was big back in the early, maybe the early 1900s, maybe even a little bit before. And if you go up there in the right place, you can see these huge piles of waste slate, because only like 20% of the slate that they dug out was usable. So there's your slate. And then also, I forgot to tell you about when I was talking about the Chickamauga Limestone. Up in Tennessee, the Chickamauga Limestone is called the Holston Formation. I think it is up in Tennessee, up around Knoxville area. This is the limestone that formed in this basin when the big island arcs pushed down on the continent and made a basin. Well, in Tennessee especially, right around the Knoxville area, and not presumably in other areas, this limestone was full of these bryozoan fossils. And you can look up what a bryozoan is. It's a shell creature. And these bryozoan reefs, just like we have coral reefs now formed, and these bryozoans made really pretty interesting tracings and patterns in this limestone, this Holston/Chickamauga limestone, Holston Formation limestone, and turned the limestone a kind of a grayish pink color that's very attractive and takes a good polish. So they market this as Tennessee marble. Is it marble? No, it's not marble, because you have to apply metamorphic pressure on it to turn it into marble. But its marketing name is Tennessee marble, and it serves the same purpose as marble, and it's really pretty. Maybe I've got a square that I got from a quarry up there, and maybe I'll show it to you. I think it's pretty. Okay, so those are the main products of the Taconic mountain building event that I know about. There are probably others. Let's see. Yeah. So anyway, next video, I'm going to take you through the whole mountain building process and tell you what sediments are laid down and when, and how the sediments that are the diagnostic sediments for the beginning of this beginning of a mountain building event, and the diagnostic sediments that tell you it's over. So until that time, I want you to have a great day. I want you to have a great life. I'm rooting for you. And because you like geology, that makes us, kind of brother, sister, brother, sister, whatever you want to call it. And so I'm keeping you in my mind. So have a fantastic day and a fantastic week and a fantastic Thanksgiving, which is coming up. Bye-bye out.